Good afternoon and welcome everyone. Welcome to an opportunity to listen to four of our academic leaders at Syracuse University who will discuss where we stand as a university in terms of science, technology, engineering, and math. When you say it this way, you can only spell it by putting the deans who are responsible for each of those major schools at the university. So we have deans from the School of Education representing what happens to the K-12 cycle. How do we educate the teachers who stand in front of the K-12? We have Arts and Science representing both the science and the math component of STEM. We have the iSchool representing technology, and of course engineering. So, before we start, I'd like to ask you for two quick things if possible. The first one is if you're sitting in the last 3 or 4 rows, if you could please come a little closer. This is Syracuse University, friendly people. No one bites. So please, if you can come a little closer, I'd really appreciate it because we don't plan to use too much of the audio and therefore you want to hear more. Please come forward. Thank you, I do appreciate that. And the second thing I'd like to ask of you is 1 minute of silence. We'd like to observe a minute of silence because we've lost 2 members of our family here at Syracuse, 2 students from the College of Engineering, and their dean, Dean Dalberg, is here. And so in deference to the fact that we're about to talk about STEM and all these great things, and yet we've had this loss, so we'd like to observe 2 minutes of silence for Shen-Ye Hu and Yifan Tao. And it begins now. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to share with you a quick video before we get started, just to give us a proper orientation of what's about to happen.
Day to Day was a joint venture between the School of Information Studies, or the iSchool, and Time Warner Cable.
The idea behind Day to Day was to open up young people's eyes to the amount of data that's out there that's being collected by the devices that we use every day.
We developed 4 projects centered around cell phones, so students use them all the time. So they did some mapping, they did some sound monitoring, and they then took that and then uploaded that data to the web.
I think this is a great time to be involved in data science because with the proliferation of the internet and all the activities that we're doing online, there's just so much data everywhere.
Well, Eclipse is a grant that's funded by the National Science Foundation, and the overarching goal of the grant and of the program is to increase retention rates and graduation rates in engineering and computer science here at SU. And it's part of the President's plan to increase the workforce in science and engineering by 10,000 people. Our focus is really on faculty development because You know, our students come and go and they change over time, but the faculty remains. And so if you can help a faculty member to become a more effective instructor, a more engaging instructor, and you know, that will propagate through the curriculum, but through many generations of students.
This is a National Science Foundation funded project called Erupt.
Erupt is enhancing recruitment and retention of underrepresented populations through peer-led team learning.
Students can learn very well from other students who have recently learned similar material and been successful.
Each week in the workshops, the peer leaders who are brought back that have already been successful are trained in different educational theories and pedagogical methods that they can then use and implement with working with the current students in their workshop sessions. Currently, we have a paper in CBE Life Sciences Education where we have been able to show how effective the model has been for the students, and we have found that the program has been very successful to help improve achievement.
Well, the Empower Project is an interesting initiative, and the idea behind this is that often, being academics, we prepare students with an academic orientation. But the job market is changing tremendously.
You know, in a traditional PhD program, students get a lot of exposure to research techniques and, you know, technical training, but there's research that shows they don't receive a lot of training in things like science communication, professionalism, project management, and these are all really essential job skills, especially when you go into careers outside of the academy.
This is a brand new program by the National Science Foundation. We are in the first cohort, and I think Syracuse is very well suited for this.
Not only do we have great programs in science and engineering, but we also have these really world-class professional schools, like the Maxwell School of Public Policy, the Whitman School, Newhouse, and so we have this unique opportunity to integrate both our training in science and engineering and our world-class training in communication, public policy, business. You know, if we could really integrate those things, I think we'd have a program that's really unique from all other programs throughout the country.
The It Girls Overnight Retreat is an attempt to get girls really excited and engaged about technology. So we invite them for what we call a sleepover hackathon. And so they engage in a variety of hands-on workshops. They take a class with an iSchool professor, and then we do a late night challenge hackathon style. So the projects can range from developing a gaming type application for encouraging women in STEM to actually building websites. So we give them real experience. And then we have a really fun and engaging late night party where popcorn and movies and sing-alongs and team building. And the goal for that is to really build a cohort of women with a strong interest in technology.
The Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation is a federally funded project by the National Science Foundation. The mission of LSAM is to increase the number of underrepresented minority students who are pursuing bachelor's degrees in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and moving on to graduate school. At SU, the program has several components. Our largest component is the undergraduate research program. With the undergraduate research program, students are matched up with faculty members to work on cutting-edge research. Students who participate in undergraduate research, they're able to go on to present regionally and nationally, and I have many students who receive awards for the cutting-edge research that they're doing. So the program provides students with just an opportunity to get their feet wet with undergraduate research, and many of them, eyes are opened up to graduate school.
The Robert Noyce program is an NSF-funded project here at Syracuse University. It's a partnership between the College of Arts and Sciences and the School of Education. And its primary goal is to provide students with, in the STEM disciplines, with an opportunity to get a scholarship to study and become science teachers or math teachers who agree in exchange for the scholarship to teach in a high-needs school district somewhere in the United States. These are the most challenging schools in the country that require the best teachers, but are often the hardest to attract those individuals to in the first place. So it's one of the real challenges facing education in the public schools in the U.S. right now.
Y stands for Women in Science and Engineering.
Women faculties and the students can get together.
You're really able to get a woman's perspective in the STEM fields.
For women to see other women in leadership roles and mentorship roles.
It's just a collective source of inspiration, and it helps you understand how other people have dealt with similar problems to yourself.
And empower women to achieve their career goals.
Thank you, and welcome again. Thank you for attending Stemming the Gap in Higher Education. I'm Al Leond. I am a Syracuse alum. I'm also an advisory board member, and it's my pleasure to be here with you to facilitate this conversation we're about to have. I would also like to introduce our members of the panel, who are the four deans. I'm going to start with Dean Teresa Dalberg from the College of Engineering. Now, Dean Dalberg is a newly arrival to Syracuse University as of August of this year. As Dean of the Albert Nurkin School of Engineering, where she came before us here at Cooper Union, she increased enrollment of her freshman class by 50%. In addition to that, she has a background in diversity in IT. She came from a strong background as well in informatics at UNC, and also with an understanding of how to do retention from the K to 12, which is a critical area because Syracuse University, as a major university, what we ingest are the graduates of the K to 12 education system throughout our country. So without further ado, Dean Dalberg. Take a seat. Our next panelist is Dean Joanna Masengula, Dean of the School of Education. And she has been Dean of School of Education since 1992 and Professor of Mathematics and Mathematics Education. Joanna was named a Laura J. and L. Douglas Meredith Professor for Teaching Excellence in 2003. She is a recipient of $5.9 million in grants, including the prestigious National Science Foundation Career Award in 1995. She is also behind the programs, some of the programs you've seen here, including the LSIP, the Louis Stokes Alliance for Minorities in Education. And now, without further ado, Dean Masengula, please. Our next panelist is Dean Karen Houlant, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, where she also served as chair of the chemistry department from 2009 to 2014. Karen has received more than $10 million in federal grants from the National Science Foundation, including an NSF Career Award in 1997. The College of Arts and Science is home to all the basic sciences and math. So STEM is a very strong component of that, but it also includes psychology and communication science and disorders. And now, Dean Houlant, please. Our next panelist is Dean Jeffrey Stenton. Now, this is somebody I know, I work with because I'm one of his advisors on the board of advisors at Syracuse University, the School of Information Studies. Now, Dean Stenton is the interim dean of the iSchool, but he joined the iSchool back in 2001. And Dean Stenton was also a career award recipient and is the author of Information Nation. This is a book for both high school and college students about the different careers in the world of information technology. The iSchool doesn't really have separate departments, but it has both undergraduate and graduate programs in the information technology arena. And now, Dean Stenton. Okay, the process is simple. I'll be asking the panelists a series of questions just to get us started. But then after that, it will be in your hands. You will have to ask some of the questions as well. So certainly you should be thinking about some questions that you may have in your mind as we go through. But in the interest of time, we're going to start right away by diving right into some questions. So my first question is for Dean Dalbert. Now, according to the Federal Department of Education, one of the largest growth areas in the STEM discipline is biomedical engineering, where 62% growth is expected. This is leading up to 2020. What do you think, then, we can do here at SU to attract more students to these promising STEM fields?
Okay. Actually, our bioengineering program is a good example of what we are doing right. It's our third largest major out of 10 programs. And the two key attributes that we can do and are doing and should do more of is really embody in our programs and promote out their social relevance and the interdisciplinary nature. And so, for example, regarding social relevance, students want to work on something that matters, not just get a job but make a difference. And our bioengineering program has had steady growth in enrollment over the last 8 years. That's exactly the time frame since Syracuse University founded and grew the Syracuse Biomaterials Institute, which is a joint research center with our college, the College of Engineering and Computer Science, and Arts and Sciences. And so the research that goes on there helps students to see not just like they might not understand what is bioengineering, but smart materials. And they see, oh, well, there are researchers working on medical devices and they're inserted in your body, and looking at the interface between that device and the soft tissue in your body. If it's a smart device, then how that can enable the device to adapt to your body and improve your quality of life. So that's attractive to students. And the other thing then that leads to is interdisciplinary. So students they're attracted to these exciting big problems, but it's not always clear what you should major in to get to that problem. And usually there's a lot of different things that you can major in. So for example, our two largest majors are mechanical engineering and civil engineering. And mechanicals experienced huge growth over nationally over the last few years. So a student might care about manufacturing and say, well, then I should major in mechanical engineering. Or they might care about urban infrastructures or transportation systems and say, oh, I should major in civil engineering. But those fields are really, the future of those fields are smart manufacturing, smart transportation, smart buildings. And so what does that mean? It's not just mechanical and civil engineering. It's also, it's a matter of embedded systems, and that leads you to electrical engineering, computer engineering. How are they going to communicate? That's the Internet of Things. What are you going to do with all that data? So that's a big data problem, which is very much a computer science or an information science or information management problem. And how are you going to actually address the business solutions, which could be iSchool or even a business degree? And so helping students, getting them excited about the big problems, but then also helping them to understand you can get at those challenges from a number of different avenues, I think is one way.
Thank you, thank you. You know, the idea is that these students, when they come to Syracuse, we have all of these great programs to get them into and to get them started so those great careers. But the key is they have to come prepared, they have to come ready. The K-12 education system has to fulfill their side of the pledge. So with that being said, Joanna, staying on the topic of education, and you have a bird's eye view of this K-12 education system from your vantage point. Could you give us a flavor for how well high school students are being prepared in the STEM fields so that they can start here when they get here?
That's a complicated question. We have many students who come to us well prepared. We have many highly qualified teachers, but there are shortages. My own area is mathematics education, and in fact my faculty appointment is in the math department and in arts and sciences and in the School of Education. So I have a lot of a vantage point from that as well. However, there are shortages, both in science and in mathematics. So we have then teachers who are not qualified, oftentimes teaching on emergency licenses. There's also, I'm sure many of you are aware if you read things in the newspaper, for the last quite a while, there's a lot of pressure on education, on K-12 education. There is, most states now have accountability systems where student scores are being tied to teacher effectiveness. So that puts a lot of pressure on teachers, and there sometimes is created a culture of teaching for the test, which doesn't help learning. And so we then sometimes find students coming to the university who are very good at taking tests and maybe very good at memorizing, but they haven't really understood very deeply many of the concepts that are very important in all areas, but let's particularly in STEM areas. And I think those who are familiar with community college situations, you would know that many students start out at community colleges and often at times are taking courses that are really high school level courses in order to be prepared to take college level courses. So it's very complicated.
Thank you. Now, the key is we have to have the viewpoint to be able to somehow reach back enough to impact what's happening within the K-12. I mean, that's a challenge, of course, because when we do get the highly qualified student, then we can get started right away and move forward. But other times, you know, it's more of a mixed bag, understanding. Thank you. My next question is to Dean Roland, and it's about research funding. So since 1995, federal research funding at Syracuse University hit an all-time high, especially in FY15 with about $76.2 million in research dollars, which is representative of a 17% increase from FY14. So what has the university done to enable this growth that we've seen? And furthermore, how can STEM research be supported further to promote this continued growth and prominence? And specifically, how does that all tie in with our overall academic strategic plan so we can get this university pushed towards that research boundary?
Okay. It has been really quite challenging to increase research funding, considering that federal research dollars over the last decade or a little bit longer than that has pretty much remained flat, and that with increasing demand for grants. So it is harder and harder to bring in grant monies, and very often if people do write research proposals, the success rate for getting those funded lies below 10%. So it is in this light that I think the increase of 17% of funding just over the course of 1 year is really remarkable, and which really excites me so much, and is really attributable to the amazing faculty we hired over the last decade or so. It is really true that a concerted effort was made in the STEM areas to bring in extremely talented junior faculty members and mentor them towards success. It isn't good enough to bring somebody very good. You need to equip them with the tools to actually make it happen. Think about it. If your grant has a 10% chance of being funded, you really need to help people to make it happen, to give them the extra edge to get above the hump. So what we did is we hired amazing people, equipped them well, and mentored them to do well. And that was really a wonderful recipe for success, which we need to continue with. However, when I say that, I would like to mention something else. Bringing in amazing faculty members there's actually more we expect from them than just do research. Yes, we like to get them grants, we like them to be nationally, internationally visible, but we want them all to be amazing teachers. Because after all, we are a university, and education, that is what we're here for. So we're actually asking quite a lot of our junior faculty members. We want them to be amazing in the classroom and engage our students and bring in those difficult to get grants. And this is where mentoring is really, really important. So I think this is also how that exactly ties into the academic plan, which we're working on its implementation at this time. Student experience is a major part, and as such, engaged instruction and working one-on-one with students and making sure we connect what is taught in the classroom with an everyday experience or with research in a lab is absolutely critical to continue to grow STEM. So this is what we expect our faculty members to do. It's not an easy thing, but we do our best to make them as successful as we can, and the growth in research funding has shown that very nicely.
Thank you very much. You know, the thing that occurred to me is that as you were speaking, there's a continuous loop. So we attract the best researchers we can get our hands on, and they just so happen to be also among the best teachers.
Yes.
And when they come here, they get excited about the research that they're continuing, but then they start integrating students along with them in that research cycle. And then that creates, of course, future researchers along the same vein. So continuing on that topic, Jeff, you've played a significant role across campus in major research projects, and you have some ideas about students and their integration in that piece. So what are some of the most effective ways to get undergraduate students involved in STEM research?
Pay them.
I'm going to quote you on that.
Yeah, I'm actually only half joking. So one of the interesting things about the panel is there are multiple NSF Career Award winners here.
Yep.
Those career awards are actually kind of an integrated teaching and research activity. And NSF really pushes for that level of integration in that particular kind of award. And as part of that, on any NSF award, you can ask for extra money, which they essentially give you if you ask. And that money is for research experiences for undergraduates, REU. Those REU programs are just fantastic supplements on the end of any NSF grant. And so every time one of our faculty members gets an NSF grant, I go to their office and I knock on the door and I remind them, get the REU supplement, because it's a way of getting undergraduates involved in your research. And what Teresa said originally about having engaging projects for students to get involved in, that's absolutely true. So I am half joking about paying them. You want projects that make sense to the students, where they can get their hands dirty and really get involved. But it doesn't hurt to get over that initial hump. I don't know if I'm really interested in working with a faculty member on research. Well, what if I pay you? And that can help.
That will help. And thank you. So let's kind of continue a little bit along that line, because now you both, Jeff, between yourself and Karen, have had some significant experience across campus with research in various areas. What I'd like to know is if you could talk a little bit about campus-wide initiative supporting women faculty members in the STEM fields in particular.
Yeah. So this is something I'm incredibly excited about and happy to report that we had quite a bit of success in this arena. So there are basically two groups on campus which are geared to promote women in STEM, and one of them is WISE, Women in Science and Engineering. WISE was started in the late 90s as a group, when a group of senior female faculty members got together to mentor female undergraduates in the STEM disciplines. That group has grown in its scope. We also now do mentor graduate students. We currently have a group where we mentor 52 women graduate students in the STEM disciplines in a program which we call Future Professionals Program, where we teach women how to negotiate, how to put their CVs together, and many, many other things. It's a 2-year mentoring program, and the demand for the program is far exceeding the capacity we have available. It also includes mentoring of junior female faculty members. Out of WISE came Advance. Advance is a grant. Jeff and I were 2 of the co-authors of the grant, which was written about 6 years ago. It is a $4 million grant from the National Science Foundation to increase the number of women faculty in the STEM disciplines. The idea is, in essence, that we believe that the gender makeup of the professors should be reflecting the gender makeup of the students in the faculty, the students in the disciplines, because you need role models. And I can tell you that firsthand. I was the only woman faculty in chemistry for 8 years. It was pretty darn lonely, I'll tell you that. So this is where WISE and things such as advance come in, are really important for recruiting and retention. Since we had advance, which started 5 years ago, we increased the number of women faculty from the low 48, I think it was, to about 70, which is a huge difference and incredibly well received all over campus.
Yep. I'd like to just give a quick shout out to Sharon Elistalo. Wave, Sharon. And I don't know if Sharon's going to go to the reception, but you might want to talk to her about the Advanced project. She's been on the project from the very beginning. She helped us write the grant, and she's been a key to our success there. We also have some handouts up front about that program. And I guess just as a footnote, we've developed some best practices for faculty culture and faculty life and the advancement of research that I think would be advantageous to roll out across the whole campus, across every discipline, not necessarily just the STEM disciplines.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for you both. So we know that we can do a better job perhaps in attracting both underrepresented groups, including women, minorities, but there is evidence that even after we've attracted them and they're now involved in our pipeline, there seems to be some issues. So this is a question for any members of the panel, but I'd like to start hearing from Dean Dahlberg, representing both engineering and computer science. So people who follow employment trends, particularly in the STEM discipline, have often heard of this terminology called leaky pipeline. And that refers to women and members of underrepresented groups who get involved in the STEM discipline, whether in education, going towards a PhD, or even in employment. At various stages, though, what happens is they get dropped off. And this is the leak part of the pipeline. So from your perspectives, what are some of the promising strategies for recruiting and retaining women and minorities in the STEM discipline?
And so, well, how many days do we have?
Give or take, we'll compress time.
So I'll say, when you, one of the key issues for leaky pipeline, I think, both for education and then also in the workforce, is that people thrive from networking and interacting with other people in their peer group or like in their like community. So for example, when I first got out of undergraduate school, I was, as an electrical engineer, I worked for IBM. I was the only female in a group of 300 hardware engineers. And it took a long time for that to change. And so, one of the things that I've done in my prior institution was found an alliance, a National Science Foundation alliance. We're now 10 years and over 50 colleges and universities strong, where we called the STARS Computing Core. So we use service learning to get students in colleges working with students in industry in K-12 to help broaden participation in STEM. And what that does is you might be the only girl in your class or the only woman with a baby in the workplace. But it tends to build a vertical and horizontal community. So the vertical community is the student and the professional and the K-12 person. If a woman or an African American goes out to that population in school and says, this is a great field, then you buy in and you build a vertical pipeline. And then by interconnecting institutions and regions nationally, you build a horizontal community. And so the same can happen in the workforce. And this is why, this is the whole concept beyond Advance and WISE and a lot of efforts that all of us that we do on campus and they're done in the workforce is about building those communities.
Thank you. Thank you. Joanna, would like to add to that?
Yes, we have several programs in the School of Education that really serve the whole university. They're funded projects. One of them is called LSAMP. It was featured on the video, which is the Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. We also have something called C-STEP, which is Collegiate Science and Technology Entry Program. So those are programs really that are for students of color, underrepresented students, first-generation college students, to engage them. LSAMP has a summer research program. It was talked about in here. So it engages students in working with faculty members. We also have students that may not even be Syracuse University students who sometimes come and work with our faculty here during the summer as they have support. They also have conferences where they're interacting, they're presenting their research work. C-STEP as well is a way of supporting students of color in the STEM disciplines during the time. We also have the NOISE program, which was featured on here, which is a National Science Foundation project to attract and recruit and retain and prepare science and mathematics teachers. So all of that, it involves a lot of what Karen was talking about and Teresa about mentoring, preparing them, helping them see how they could be in this role and how they could be in the STEM discipline in their career after university.
Great, thank you. At this point, I would like to open up questions from you, members of the audience. There is a microphone available, so if you do have a question, please raise your hand and the mic will be brought up to you. And let me say that I have 15,000 more questions, so please. You, sir.
John?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. You talk about leaky pipelines. I worked for an engineering company here in town for 39 years, and we saw some of that. And we saw the difficulties with women and minorities, especially in Syracuse. My concern is getting kids into the pipeline at all. What I'd like to see everywhere is some type of some types of activities that are geared towards the K to 12, and then follow those kids along till they get to college. Now I know there are programs like that, but am I right or am I wrong? To me, it seems that's where the biggest loss is occurring, is right at step one, and which is not to say we shouldn't deal with the leaky pipeline, but getting kids to, and these days where you're getting more women into college, those are the ones that we need to start early with. Again, I say all that in the form of a question.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your question. Thank you. I appreciate the question. It sort of brings to mind a study that was commissioned a few years ago, perhaps over a decade ago actually now, with the National Academies of Science. It's called Rising Above the Gathering Storm. And what that study had proven is that if you don't engage within the K-12, then you've lost a great opportunity. And you have to engage as early as possible, particularly in the elementary school. So that's very early in the K-12 cycle. And efforts should be made to expose students during the K-12 cycle to all kinds of great opportunities that the STEM disciplines can afford. Now, Syracuse actually has done some of this work, and I know for a fact within the iSchool, the It Girls program, which involves taking several buses and distribute those buses throughout the coastline along the East Coast from as far as, I think, Massachusetts, all the way down to Maryland, D.C. area, and then these buses come to campus. This year, 130 young ladies came to campus with 10 of their guidance counselors and parents, chaperones, etc. 48 hours, almost without sleep, and they went back home. And what we learned from last year is that 70% of them come back to Syracuse because they got exposed to something they didn't quite get before. So I know there's more of these programs, so I'm going to open up this question as well to members of the panel, particularly Joanna.
I'll just say that we have a companion program, the companion to C-STEP, that's called STEP, Science Technology Entry Program, that's for grades 7 to 12. Students in the area, students of color in the Onondaga County, they come on Saturdays. They are involved in science and mathematics activities. So we're trying to do some of that work locally.
Good, excellent.
And so I agree. And what I hear you saying is, why do people do all these different efforts, a little of this and a little of that, when the answer is just start with the group and go all the way up? And the answer is, I'm going to copy Jeff, pay them. It's money. It's money. That's the answer. And you know, it frustrates me over the mass. You know, I've dedicated my life to this over the last 15 years, and there's lots of programs that work. It's not a matter of finding out what works. It's a matter of finding the money and the willpower to implement it and scale it broadly. And that requires legislation. So lobby. The engineering and computer science and information science, there is no home for those in the K-12 curriculum, right? So there was a time, it took 100 years for math to become a discipline. But you know, it used to be math was like computer science or information management. It was just not something that everybody had to do. You know, there wasn't always the thinking that for science, that the scientific method is something that everyone should do. So that, you know, the Common Core does not, in K-12, does not include computer science and engineering. And that needs to change, and that there's a lot of efforts on the Hill, and I encourage you to support them.
Good. We have a question all the way at the end, and then one here. So I'll take the one at the end first, and then you'll be next.
Hi, my comment's really just one of information. Engineering is in the new Next Generation Science Standards. The state of New York has not yet adopted them. Something every person in this room can do, especially if you're a citizen of the state of New York, is respond to the Chancellor's request for feedback on the Mathematics Common Core that is open online right now and is until the end of November. I would encourage every person in here to vote yes on the Common Core. And when the opportunity for the NGSS vote comes out later this year, for every person in this room to vote yes, because it raises both the science and the engineering bar for children K-12 beginning in kindergarten. It expects kindergartners to understand the fundamentals of force and motion. It can be done. The mechanisms are out there. We just need greater public support.
Thank you. So advocacy is a key. Thank you for that. You challenge us all to do something, and I think there are things that we all can do. I think we can begin by, again, something we've heard here as a theme, which is mentoring. The ability, you'll be sometimes surprised at the influence you have, particularly if you're mentoring someone close. A young student who's seen you, perhaps your own child in my case, or even a nephew, niece, etc. Because there is an impact. From what I have seen, is that when I go into high schools and speak to students, they oftentimes resonate with one or two things that I have to say when I connect directly to something that I have done that they can recognize something that happened in their lives. So I encourage you to, in addition to your advocacy, to voting, to going on the website and signing, putting your name down, is also not to forget the fact that you yourself represent this significant piece to a young person in the K-12 cycle. Next question.
Hi, I am junior and international relations major right now. In the last 3 years, I was out of school and had the opportunity to working with the people from the gaming industry and information study industry. And working with them, that working experience with them was actually like caught my attention, and I started being interested in studying for the gaming industry and information industry. But after I come back this year, I found I was not able to find any good program for people like me, who only study any liberal arts and not many of the math or science, and trying to begin my study about in this type of study. So I just wonder is there any program or plan in Syracuse University for people like me?
Thank you. I will.
Yes, I can say a little bit about that. We are working over putting ideas together as we speak about an interdisciplinary degree in gaming science, if you wish. There are people from VPA, the Visual and Performing Arts College, from engineering and from arts and sciences, who are putting ideas together as we speak. So right now there are islands, there are courses in all areas, but there is no targeted degree at this time but we're discussing it at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question here, and then I have another one here.
Years ago, I proposed an idea to some university officials here, which is a continuation of some of the discussion I heard here so far, and it was called an engineering camp. I believe, in my opinion, we're spending way, way, way too much in sports and not enough in this particular area we're talking about. An engineering camp would have been an idea which would allow high school students that thought they had an interest in engineering to come to the university, spend a couple weeks living on campus. There would be a paid type of system. There's grants for that. And they would be able to hear somebody that was teaching electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, bio, spend time with these students to learn about what these engineers actually in the education is involved with. You would also have people from academic that are practicing civil engineers, mechanical engineers, and so on, address the same body of students, so they would get two perspectives, one from the faculty member and one from a practicing engineer. And I've talked with students a lot. I've hired hundreds and hundreds of engineers in my former career, and there's a big interest in some kind of a program like that. I ran into stumbling blocks here at the Syracuse University because there was only a one-way conversation going. The faculty members I was dealing with didn't seem to want to give you the time of day to listen. They had already made up their mind what they were doing years ahead. They didn't want to listen to new ideas. And I think we need something to reach the high school students in these programs, and you'd probably find yourself getting some good students being interested in Syracuse University and coming here.
Thank you.
So
Thank
that's my
you.
proposal, an engineering
Yeah,
camp.
I appreciate that.
So
Thank you.
this-
Thank you.
if I
Dean
will
Dalberg.
accept your endowment and
These things.
You can make it happen. Seriously, there's a lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
And a lot of good ideas that will work. But to really bring about change, but there are limited resources. So it's not a matter of, I have no idea why somebody didn't accept that idea, but I can guess why. There probably wasn't funds for that because the funds were directed to another good idea. So it's really not a lack of good ideas. It's a lack of how to really bring about change given limited funds. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. That is really good. I have a question here and then two in the back. First, here, 1 second for the mic.
So I know there's a large initiative for assessment at the college here, especially in the middle states. However, my question relates to assessment of their entire time, of the students' entire time here at college. What are your thoughts on the idea of a, I guess, either departmental level or college level or university level, as appropriate, an initial assessment when students start here, possibly during orientation week, and then an assessment right before they graduate. So essentially you can have information to assist you throughout the student's time here, ideas of what areas are missing in the student's understanding to be addressed, and then at the end to see how well of a job we did actually addressing those and improve from that in a cyclical growing process. What are your thoughts upon this, as it would be about maybe 2 days worth of effort with some behind the scenes work, of course.
Thank you. When I was here, I remember a few assessments. In fact, there were too many of them. They're called tests. But I understand your point, though. I'm wondering if any member of the panel would like to address that. Jeff?
So one of the pillars of the new academic strategic plan is the student experience. It's one of the 6 pillars, and so I think there's going to be a substantial investment over the next few years in trying to have an integrated student experience, which is very positive, and looking in on that at many different assessment points, if you will, to make sure and understand what's happening with the students. And one concrete example that's going in that direction is that we are on the verge of pilot testing an information system that will integrate all of our advising functions and make it possible for any advisor across campus to be able to see for a given student, what they've been through and what's ahead of them, and to give them really good advice, wherever they happen to touch down at Syracuse University on the basis of the information that we know about them.
Joanna, I'd like to add to that.
Something that we're working on along with Middle States is that I know for the School of Education programs, and I'll speak personally about the math education program, is that we have a map for the students' whole time here, and it includes grade point average at certain points in their math classes. It includes different assessments along the way as far as their mathematics methods courses, their student teaching, all those kind of things, so that we're making we have decision points, whether a person has met this to move on. I think having something at the beginning and only at the end, or having that kind of thing, we would get students who might not be successful at the end, we didn't catch them earlier, to be able to say, you know what, it looks like this might be a better path for you than this one. So I think all of us, and I know my colleagues in the math department, have been working on the learning outcomes of what they're expecting for a person who's getting a math major, a degree in mathematics. So I think we are working on those kind of things, and there are a lot of assessments. Learning is very complicated, and I think there are many aspects to what we would expect a person to graduate with. And so I think it wouldn't be captured easily by one assessment, perhaps, at the end.
I like that you actually added to the number. I find that to be a good thing.
More assessments. Wow.
Well, different points.
So I think the critical point we need to look at here are learning outcomes. That is really the word or the theme we have to work around. It happens to be that at this time, as we're implementing an academic strategic plan, as Jeff mentioned, the student experience is a very, very important part of it. We also happen to get ready for Middle States assessment. And I consider it an incredibly wise decision to link the two with each other. The other thing which is going on as we speak is a significant investment in OIRA, that is the data acquisition arm of the university. They collect data of all sorts to help us make more data-driven, or make it easier for us to make data-driven decisions and initiate programs. So if you link all of that together, academic strategic plan, student experience, learning outcome, data which are available to help you guide your decisions, and about how you shape programs, that's a good thing and will ultimately really make a difference in that way.
Thank you, thank you. We have two questions at the back. Actually, I have a question, but I think I can take the one all the way in there. Please. Yeah, you, sir. Yeah. No, no, I'm sorry. Directly in my line of sight, second row seat.
Stand up. Where are you?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm a grad student in the environmental engineering program, and in response to a couple of comments regarding how we need to be able to reach out to students, high school students more, I'd just like to add that there's this group in the engineering school. It's primarily an undergrad populated group, but we call ourselves the Engineering Ambassadors, or the CPCS Literacy Initiative. And every Friday we go to a couple of public schools in the Syracuse school district area, and we perform engineering related activities with the secondary school kids. They could be from 4th grade to 8th grade, and so we do activities like make a bridge out of popsicle sticks and straws, or make a mechanical gripper, or something related to the concepts behind a Velcro. And then we won't just have them make it, but we'll have them understand the concept behind it, and then use their thoughts of what they could use. Maybe they could use glue, they could use clay, or things like that. So it's good. I mean, it would be nice to have more participation in that from the school's point of view, but I think the amount of enthusiasm that the engineering students have in doing this is really great. And the only motivation we have is free pizza. So this comment
don't underestimate pizza.
Yeah, I mean, this comment was in response with the fact that someone mentioned money. I really don't think it's about money. It's a good, fun thing to do, and if you have a lot of friends, then it becomes like a group activity, and it's really fulfilling. I'm actually wearing the T-shirt right now, so
thank you very much. I know I can only do one more question, and I believe.
Excuse me, right here.
Self-selected.
It's been self-selected. Go ahead, please.
So I'm a freshman at Syracuse, and I'm a physics major and a minor in energy systems. I recently found out that it would be really possible for me to get a research, be able to shadow a professor my freshman year, and I was hoping I could get an idea of how I should approach a professor or anyone on the faculty who could help me just jump into it. And also, if I'm a physics major, should I if I want to do work in nuclear science, should I be okay with getting a research opportunity doing toxicology or bioengineering? Should I be okay with that, or should I try to find a physics research opportunity?
Well, the chair of physics is right behind you.
Yes. So this is a good point. This is a good point because the questions do not have to end. The conversation does not have to end, because please join us upstairs in the Milton atrium for a reception and an opportunity to continue this mix and conversation. But as far as the official side of the panel here, we respectfully would like to end it. But before we end, we'd like to give an opportunity to each of our panelists to have some closing remarks, maybe 20 seconds, if you don't mind. So we'll start with you, Jeff, because you can model the 20 seconds for us really well.
Okay. I'll do my best here. So I just want to give a shout out to Stephanie Worden, who's in the audience. She is one of the masterminds behind the IT Girls. And we've had a lot of great experiences trying to create opportunities for our students to come to campus and to travel out into the world to learn about our field. And I think those hands-on things are really key from my perspective.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Dean Dalbert, like to close, 20 seconds.
Well, we have an excellent Student Success Center as well as very involved faculty. And I think one of the things that we do best is the research experiences for undergraduates. We sponsored almost 100 students last year. I do want to give a shout out to the Ambassador Student Group. I discovered them about a month ago, and what they're doing is terrific. It does take money, though. The staff person who guides you is paid. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Joanna, in order.
Yes, I would like to recognize the work that our science and mathematics education faculty members are doing with teachers and in preparing pre-service teachers, especially recognize Sharon Dodger, who's sitting at the back there, who works heavily with elementary teachers in science. Science is often ignored, it's an ignored subject in elementary school. Many times there's a lot of focus on math and reading and writing, and not a lot of science being taught. So Sharon does a lot of lesson study with teachers and in the area and helping to prepare, as the gentleman talked about, preparing from elementary up.
Thank you. Thank you. And Karen?
I'm really excited about the way on how STEM education is emerging on campus. We're exploring many ways to engage the students, things such as flipping the classrooms and going away from the large frontal lectures, and that is making a huge difference. So many things are happening at the moment. As Teresa pointed out, the same is happening in arts and sciences. A very, very strong focus on undergraduate research and really getting the students working with faculty on one-on-one to create an engaging atmosphere to actually stop the leaky pipeline and keep people here. And we find that to be very successful. This is a great time for STEM, and the fact that we see growing numbers in the STEM disciplines is a wonderful testament of the hard work we do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, panelists, for your time. And again, please join us upstairs in the Milton Atrium for a reception and a continued conversation. Thank you.